Greetings, my dears, earthlings, forest friends, all of you. Today I'm going to be doing a reading for Samhain, as the title says. I recently watched Raecine at Almoon 513's video on this Sabbath, and I wanted to use the reading that she shared. Coincidentally, so my card for November is Miss Lady Death here, Holy Death, La Huesera, the Bone Woman, La Flaquita, the Skinny Woman, La Santísima Muerte, as you can see here. For my year ahead readings for 2023, or I should say my year ahead reading for 2023, I chose 2 cards per month, one from the Dark Goddess Tarot, which is where this card comes from, and one from the Divine Muses Oracle. As I said, this month, the month of my birthday, Scorpio season, and in this transitional time of Samhain, Dia de los Muertos, I'm walking with death. This is the death card. I have trimmed this with Santa Muerte, which is why we have a darker scene, a little bit more moody. We have candles lit, and I'm really excited. But this time has been immensely heavy. The fall has been dense with grief for me personally, and of course collectively. Y'all, I have cried a lot and done a lot of card work, journaling, deity work, and usually with these monthly goddesses and the muse energies, I'm mostly just witnessing and noting like how the energy moves throughout the month, doing like some card work, but it's very organic as far as like how I engage or how much I engage. But like now, as I move into this personal crossover of my birth, and as we collectively move into the dense time of the holidays right now, with everything going on, I just want to spend a little bit more time, intentional time, with my monthly card. And what better moment than now on Samhain with La Santa Muerte. So let's get into the reading. The 5 questions that Raecine offered are: number 1, what is the energy of this Samhain for me? Number 2, how can I best embrace this energy? Number 3, what am I prepared to let die as I connect with this particular Samhain observance? What underworld realm will I explore over this next turning of the wheel? And number 5, what face of deity is guiding me? For the last card, I decided to change it to what guidance does La Huesera have for me, which is the bony woman, another name for La Santa Muerte. I've been doing a lot of like research into her this past week, and just really diving into the history of La Santa Muerte. I highly encourage folks to do that if you haven't already. And also in my reading of Women Who Run with the Wolves, we just really tapping into, myth and story and the bones. The bones have been very relevant for me, just with memory when it comes to identity, history, lineage, ancestry, all of those things. And just the thing that holds us together. It's just, I don't know. The bones have been really, really strong as of late, as far as a physical and poetic, metaphoric reality. So that is why I'm using the name La Huesera a lot. And so I'm going to be using 4 or 5 decks. I have them here. There's a few that I'm like unsure about. I have more than 4 or 5. We'll see as I go, and I will introduce them as I go. So yeah, let us get started with question number 1. What is the energy of this Samhain for me? I was just using this to start, as I called in my guides and La Santa Muerte and my ancestors and all of that before I started recording. So I'm going to ask, what is the energy of this Samhain for me? I'm going to be using the Seasons of the Witch Samhain Oracle. And so I'm just going to shuffle that first. Let's just see. Breathe deep. What is the energy of this Samhain for me? But let us move La Santa Muerte over here. What is the energy of this Samhain for me? I'm gonna do a couple of these. Oops! I blew out one of my candles. Okay. Third harvest. I'm going to, so for third harvest, we have daughters of the woods, feel thy sacred swell with suppleness. Taste the gathering of honey's milk, filling your emptiness. I'm going to be working with the guidebooks for this one. So just be aware that I'm going to be sort of coming in and out with after reading the guidebook entries. Okay, so for me, this feels like the main card that we're working with, since this is the Samhain card, from the Samhain Oracle on Samhain. This card is about the day itself and about the harvest. The keywords are gathering, abundance, and preparation. So it talks about how, in the past it was about, gathering the last harvest, preparing for the winter. Of course, this is not something that we do today, but, the messages discussing, gather up. It says, you are being guided to gather up your accomplishments, to celebrate your wins. Take a look at everything you've done and achieved. Make a store of these wins to come back to whenever you are feeling low or like you've failed. The easiest way to attract more abundance is to feel abundance. Having this stockpile of feel-good moments will kickstart you and can help turn around feelings of lack or stagnation. And so it's so cool and so lovely to, have the question, what is the energy of this Samhain? It makes a lot of sense. It is just really tapping into the energy of it as a whole. And it's the first time that I've sort of observed it more. Is that true? Though I've observed this time of year before, this is the first time I'm doing it this intentionally, and so it feels really good to receive this card that is really affirming that I'm in the energy of this holiday. So for this next question, how can I best embrace this energy? I'm going to be using the Dust to Onyx Tarot, and I'm going to face the rest of the cards face down and kind of lay them out how I feel like laying them out, and I'll go over them one by one. So let's start with, how can I best embrace this energy? With the Dust to Onyx, how can I best embrace this energy of gathering my accomplishments and feeling the abundance of what I've been able to achieve, and sort of harvesting those moments that they may nourish me? How can I best embrace the energy of that for myself when it comes to my wins and the ways that I celebrate? Okay. Put that card here. Next, for question 3, what am I prepared to let die as I connect with this particular Samhain observance? I'm going to be using the Antique Anatomy. Of course, if we're talking about death, the bony woman, the bones, and what am I prepared to let die feels really appropriate for the Antique Anatomy. So I'm just going to shuffle. What am I prepared to let die as I connect the spirit of harvest, celebration, and abundance? Okay. Oops, I didn't see it. You saw it, I didn't see it. And for question number 4, what underworld realm will I explore over this next turning of the wheel? I have the Mausolea Oracle of Souls, and this is my underworld deck. It is all about the underworld, so I figured it'd be the perfect deck to ask what underworld realm will I explore over this next turning of the wheel. La Huesera. What underworld realm will I explore? Underworld realm. Put that down here. Let's move these candles a little bit. Underworld realm. And I think for the last question, what does La Huesera have for me? What guidance does La Huesera have for me? What guidance does La Santa Muerte have for me? I'm going to use the Margaret Peterson. I'm going to use my trimmed version to ask, what guidance do you have for me, La Santa Muerte, at this time? Okay. Alrighty. Okay, so now that we have all of our cards laid out, we have our sort of main message. Let me just zoom out a tad bit so we can see all the cards. So let's start here with, how can I best embrace this energy? Ooh. We have the Chief. This is the Emperor. To be honest with you, it feels like whenever I pull this card, use this deck, I get this card a lot. And I feel like this deck is sort of constantly trying to communicate to me that I need to step into like my authority and my power. And so when I'm thinking about like gathering up my accomplishments, celebrating my wins, and really like having a concrete list of the things that I have done and have accomplished, it feels very much like sort of like wake up, like why are you not pretending, but why are you not fully embodying the power and sense of pride in your work? And yes, it sort of feels like a bit of a calling out or a calling in. So in the guidebook, it also has the awakened aspect being integration, accomplishment, fulfillment, and wholeness. And if that's not, that just gives me sort of how I can emotionally approach it from a place of like confidence, wholeness, and sort of integrating specifically my harvest. And I think that's what I'm thinking about, is allowing what I'm harvesting to nourish me and to be integrated into my next season. So I think that's super cool. And it's so funny that this card comes out because I feel like it always comes out when I work with this deck. Okay, so next question is, what am I prepared to let die as I connect with this particular Samhain observance? You've already seen it, but let me see it for the first time. So we have the King of Blades. Wow. Honestly, I feel like it's a sense of, what am I prepared to let die? First of all, I just feel like I have this sense of like being ruthless. Like this card is so, it's so intense just to see the blade going through the, interestingly, it feels like, it doesn't feel like it's going through this, sort of the headspace, but the ear. And I feel like, what am I prepared to let die, just based on the imagery and what I'm seeing, is sort of what I hear from other people as far as like what's okay to celebrate, what I should harvest from my own wins, and how to feel about them, and sort of any sort of outside messages. It feels like to let that die, what I step into is my own perspective, my own rationale for what makes me feel accomplished, what makes me feel whole, and what I want to continue to celebrate and integrate moving forward. Yeah, that's what I get from that. Not what I would have thought to get, but yeah, I kind of like that. So, what underworld realm for number 4 will I explore over this next turning of the wheel? Ooh, I'm so intrigued. I'm so intrigued. Okay. Ereshkigal, Queen of Shadows. So, let me just take a look in the guidebook. I know that this is the sister of Inanna, correct? I've cut off the keywords here. They're usually down here at the bottom. And I've cut them off because I think I explained in a video. Did I explain in a video? I'm pretty sure I explained in a video why I snipped those off. It's really nice though, because before I felt like I needed to like read intuitively from the card or based on all the words on the card, but it was like too many words, so I felt like, oh, I shouldn't need the guidebook. But I kind of like that I go to the guidebook every time, but I still do get an idea based on the imagery. And so let me just see, what do I get from this imagery? What I'm seeing is the realm of shadow. And I noticed that there's bones coming out of her back. That's my kitty. There's bones coming out of her back, and I find that so interesting. And we have these wings that are, there's a lot of holes in it. It reminds me of something I wrote for a recent piece about wilted flowers and how I often find wilted flowers so beautiful, but they're like sort of browned and they have holes in them and things like that. So that's really interesting. Okay, to be honest with you, I had to step out because my cat needed some attention. You probably heard him meowing. But so I'm back, and so what we have for Ereshkigal is the Empire of Irkala. And it says it's a realm of bright and dark dualities. In Irkala, sorrow and joy are shared and balanced in equal measure. What it talks about also with this this character here, this figure, is that she can be quick to violent storms of anger, particularly as concerns the encroachment of demonic, corrupting beings upon the borders of her realm. That Ereshkigal demonstrates a leader who does not have full awareness or control over what occurs in their domain, and serves as a warning to look closer at those to whom one has delegated responsibility. Are they holding up their end of the bargain? Is a display of anger truly the correct response? And the domains of Ereshkigal, Queen of Shadows, are wrath, instability, and suspicion. It is kind of hilarious because I feel like I experienced this literally today, this morning, with someone who, shall I say, I've been asking to sort of take on their responsibility, and that has not been working. And today was the first day that I had sort of showed any sort of anger around that, to be honest. And it felt very warranted, but it feels like also this card is talking about digging into my emotions and rationale. It says, this domain is a realm of bright and dark duality. And in a lot of ways, with this Queen of Shadows, it feels like looking at the duality of, it talks about rational and emotional experience. And so, I don't know, it feels like I'm looking at my own shadow, my own emotions, places where my emotions aren't really stable, or my rationality for certain things aren't really stable. Maybe I'm expecting something from someone who cannot follow through. Is that really a rational, logical thing to do? And how am I sort of managing my emotions? Where are they coming from? What is driving me? And that kind of comes back to what it says in the guidebook for the chief, which it reminds me. But what does this have to do with Samhain, I'm asking, as far as harvesting. I think it's about looking at the wins and celebrating the ways that I have, been authentic in this particular situation, the ways that I can celebrate myself, the ways that I've handled it. I have, for the most part, been very consistent about my boundaries. And so that's the reason why today, for the first time, I felt like I presented a more like stern and really showed this person my anger, which is good. I feel like sometimes I also get caught up in this, like, don't show anger because it's not conducive, it's not helpful. But at the same time, some people really don't understand rationale, they understand emotion. And so, it's kind of it does feel like a duality in this case. And so, really looking at that experience and looking at my personal shadows and as far as my logical, left hemisphere and my emotional, maybe right hemisphere, and bringing them together. That's about integration as well, which we're seeing up here. And lastly, my last question is, what guidance does La Huesera have for me? Okay, we have the 6 of air, the 6 of swords, feathers here. The 6 of feathers. You can see my little 6 right there. It's tiny. I really wanted it to be inconspicuous for this deck. But yeah, we have the 6 of feathers. I'm going to read the guidebook and I shall be right back. Okay, so in the guidebook, we are really focusing on this image of sort of a web here. We have the 6 feathers, and then we have all these connecting lines, and then we have, I'm not sure, it doesn't say what this circle is, but it definitely feels like the moon, and it doesn't feel full, so it could be waxing or waning depending on where you are, or maybe a quarter, first or last quarter here, not sure, but maybe it's not a moon at all. Oops, I don't know. But what I do know and what I am seeing is this web. And when it comes to, the guidebook and generally just from the image itself, we're talking about the interconnectedness of thoughts, ideas, of people, like communication. It talks about networking and realizing the interconnectedness of things. And that's not usually how I see the 6. Obviously, for me, there's also a sense of harmony, but I don't really see it as interconnectedness, which is really interesting. I have some understanding of the tree of life, and so when I think of Tiferet, I usually think of beauty, of harmony, and I think about, sharing that beauty, the emanation of beauty. And so for me, with this central point here, which has been a common theme, I'm thinking about sharing this list, this harvest with other people, with realizing how also what contributes to my harvest, the things that I have been able to accomplish and do. And especially as I go into my birth month, my birthday, the season, the Scorpio season of investigative thinking and the mystery and the dark half of the year, I'm really just thinking about how I can connect with other people as I celebrate and share the celebration with them, and also hear from them, what they've experienced from me, and realized how they've influenced me, how I've influenced others, and just sort of coming together and seeing how we're connected and how those people and experiences have led to the ideas that I have and led to the beauty and the experiences and the wins that I've experienced. I'm not sure if I'm explaining that as well as I would like. That's what comes to mind for that. Last, I do want to ask La Huesera, maybe for a message for you all for watching. And, you know, of course, as I said, if anything has resonated for you thus far, I would love to hear about it. But, you know, I figured I'd try pull a card for you watching. A message from La Santa Muerte. La Santísima Muerte. La Huesera, La Fraquita, asking for a message for the folks watching. What guidance do you have? Put it right here. The Eight of Blades. Interesting. It's so funny, right? I feel like I'm seeing a similar image here. But it doesn't, is it a coming together? Which is not usually how I read, you know, the eight of blades, or the eight of swords, or the eight of knives, or the eight of feathers, or the eight of air. I usually don't read it as a sort of coming together, but I feel especially drawn to use imagery today. When I think about coming together in the context of the Eight of Blades, I'm thinking about how the things that we let go transform our state of mind, and they allow a sort of coalescence of what is right for us. And so maybe shifting the perspective about how changing our mind about something is stepping into a state of clarity and of seeing and understanding. Maybe you can let die this feeling of feeling trapped, of being closed in by all that is around you, and consider seeing how removing these things can shift your perspective. Apparently the message is also for me, so yeah, I think that is the end of this reading. Thank you so much for watching. I'm so glad you joined me for this reading, and if you've made it to the end of the video, I want to play that game that I've seen some folks on YouTube play, specifically Astral Lady Tarot. I know that she often plays it, but is to leave a comment with a word, so I know that you made it to the end of the video and that you've been here for the journey, and the word is going to be bones. So yeah, if you could write bones in the comments or incorporate a message with the word bones in it, that would be lovely. And yeah, I hope you have a blessed Samhain and beginning of November. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like and subscribe, and I will see you in my next video.